Buy. Consume. Throw. This aspect of the first world middle-class lifestyle became so ingrained in American culture that we don't even think twice about the negative consequences that come with this disposable consumer culture mindset. Recycling centers unable to process our trash, landfills becoming overfilled, plastic pollution in our ocean from manufacturing overseas to produce our cheap goods, only to send trash back to those countries, and of course, global warming from the elaborate globalized transit system of massive ships and cargo planes carrying everything between and into nations. But what is consumer culture and why should you care? Consumer culture is a socioeconomic shift that occurred in the mid-1900s, where products and goods as well as materialism shifted and merged into a way representing who you are socioeconomically. There was a shift from using material goods to owning and showing others the material goods you owe, even if you don't use the goods ever again in your life. For example, the textile industry. In America, according to a survey of 1,000 women, every woman has about 103 items of clothing in the closet. According to Hyman, the average American buys 68 items of clothing, 80% of which are seldom worn, and 20% of what the $2.4 trillion fashion industry generates is thrown away. Clothes represent status and are usually bought in bulk during shopping hauls and are also barely used. The average consumer throws away 70 pounds of clothing each year, and we produce 13 million tons of textile waste each year, 95% of which could be reused or recycled. In total, the fast fashion industry releases 1.2 billion tons of carbon dioxide annually. The globalization of fast fashion and supply chains further extenuates the pollution problem. Many factory workers in the fast fashion industry receive extremely low pay and are subject to harsh and unsafe working conditions. In the high-tech sector, companies willingly make their new products more addicting while making older products obsolete. Apple came out with a statement confessing to making their older products, especially iPhones, slower and stopping software update to the perfectly capable phones. At the same time, they mark up advertising to make you want to buy the new annual iPhone or phone, under the guise that it's quicker, more secure, and more stylish. Consumer culture causes an artificial and inflated demand for cheap, quick, easy, and not necessarily high-quality material goods, and disposability furthers demand and profits. To maximize slim profit margins of cheap goods, globalization and the fragile yet frighteningly efficient global supply chains are stressed, and pollution as well as excess waste ends up being produced for something that is unnecessary to the consumer. Consumer spending accounts for 70% of the American GDP, and although retail and service industries are critical components of the U.S. economy, they are not sustainable or environmentally friendly. As a long-term solution to mitigate climate change from these activities, we need legislation putting cap and sell carbon prices on the manufacturer, and we need investment in renewable energy sources. We also need carbon capture technologies to limit the amount of pollution and carbon dioxide that enters our atmosphere. What you, the consumer, needs to do is stop buying the things you do not necessarily need. You can treat yourself to the occasional want, as long as you fully enjoy and cherish the product you paid for. Don't buy clothes or other products for the sake of having them and not using them. Buy from sustainable or even local companies that produce quality, lasting goods while treating their employees and workers well. We have to think before we buy, and we need to stop unnecessary mass consumer spending to limit global warming and to save the planet.